Welcome back. Ubukele uhlelo Asikhulume la ku SABC1, and tonight we're discussing udaba lwabasebenzi njengoba sibona iziteleka ezahlukahlukene kwimikhakha eyahlukahlukene yomnotho ziqhubeka ezweni, and we're asking the question whether the demands for double-digit increases that workers are making are realistic and I suppose sustainable. And we're joined here now by our three guests. Irvin Jim, he's from the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa. Gerhard Papenfus is with the National Employers Association of South Africa, and Hart, an economist at Investment Solutions. And Chris, let's pick it up with you. We saw the kind of debate that is playing itself out here between the employers and the workers. There's talk of, from the employers, certainly, the issue of inflexibility of the industry. Is that what you are talking about?
I certainly would agree with that. I certainly would also say, listen to the rhetoric. We're fighting the battle of the Cold War of the decades ago. We need to start going forward. Anywhere in the world, it doesn't really matter whether you're in Bolivia, Switzerland, Germany, or New Zealand, or whatever. Job growth comes through small business. And with that, how do you create small businesses? You need to actually have a supporting, enabling environment. Firstly, you need households to have savings. All right, so we need to speak to Pravin Gordon about that one. Then you need to have an environment that is not hostile in terms of regulation and in terms of labor, so that people can actually make a go of it in the economy. And to resolve that, these kinds of big top-heavy agreements are not particularly helpful for small businesses because it ties you into certain restrictions that are not necessarily conducive for a small business. You need to be lean, mean, and that. We also need to be looking to say, how can we improve the general affluence of our workers and attract the investment into the economy?
Right.
And if we're actually negotiating around productivity and productivity gains and how we share that, all right, and we're going on strike for those reasons, then I'm very supportive. But at the end of the day, if workers are gaining through productivity gains, you will find that we'll get additional attraction, etc. But when it's just inflation plus with, nothing specific, what then happens is that labour becomes more and more expensive. And when the rand is strengthening against the dollar, right, US workers getting 0, we're getting 13 or 10 and strengthening, we really pricing ourselves out of the market.
Right. Chris, hold it there. Let's go back. We want to go back to the Employers Association and the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa to react and respond to what you are saying.
Chris, with due respect, I respect your views, but I think one of the things that we can no longer run away from in this country is the reality of this country, that we have got an apartheid wage structure which has not been dealt with. And that apartheid wage structure takes place against a particular legacy, which was the legacy of the past, which has become continuous in our present, of a colonization of a special type, where a particular tiny minority in this country continues to die of overeating. This country has no shortage of wealth, whilst the bulk majority of the people of this country continue to languish in poverty, in unemployment. And I think the crisis, how we understand it, different to our friend from the employers, it's not a single thing of jobs. And by the way, we should answer this, that if he was stopping to run away from the rest of other employers, he would have understood that there is an industry policy forum that have been agreed to deal with the question of creating jobs in this country, where jointly NUMSA, together with employers, we're agreeing that we're on the one side on that particular question and we need to address it.
But he's saying...
Wait. Our problem is a problem of a triple crisis. A triple crisis of unemployment, poverty, inequality. And the statistics are frightening. I mean, about 65% of the population in this country live on less than 500 rand. About 12% of about 48% of the population live on 322. 10% of the population actually own the wealth of this particular country. And let's face it, the captains of industries, in fact, the gap between the ordinary workers and the CEOs is very huge. I mean, these guys are earning 1,728 times.
Sure. But
as compared to an ordinary.
Do you not agree then with what he's saying, that the demands that come with labor and some of the regulations make it very expensive to create jobs in this particular sector, that this is a very expensive sector?
See, the problem with our own economists and analysts, when we, and it's not neutral, when we put on the table fundamental issues about what needs to be done in this country to create employment, because in this country, the unfortunate thing which we fail to address has been the transformation of minerals energy complex, which is mining, finance, and energy, which has been dominated by finance capital, in particular in this country. In this country, we've got a serious challenge of actually making sure that those particular minerals are actually beneficiated, they create employment, and who stand against that? It is the very same analysts who support the path that the country have adopted, where a country basically, the wheels of history have been held back by a macroeconomic framework which is not redistributive, which is a problem. When we say it is a problem to liberalize trade in the manner in which we have liberalized trade, especially now at the backdrop of global crisis of capitalism that have collapsed. By the way, it has collapsed when we were in the past 17 years. We're saying we need to ensure that we stop this thing of removal of exchange control.
Right.
Every now and
Mr.
again.
Jim, you're actually raising a lot of issues that we will come to with time. There's space, ample of space for us to deal with those issues. Mr. Papenfus, the caller there from KwaZulu-Natal, talking about it seems that the employers are able to bear these strikes, not taking into cognizance the fact that they're actually destroying the economy, the fact that, they're willing to let the strikes go on for so long.
Are they suggesting the employers will allow strikes to go on?
Well, you don't respond timelessly from what the caller is suggesting.
Well, you know what, regarding this, first of all, I just want to say, just responding to what Irvin Jim said, that we ran away. We've never run away from anything in these negotiations. They ran away from us. They disappeared. We were there. So we did not run away from anything, and we will never. Secondly, with regard to the strike, employers can actually last a bit longer. If we play the strike rules according to the rule of law, where an employee has the right to strike,
right,
and an employer has the right to work, and an employer has the right to lock out, and employees that want to work can execute that right. If that was respected in the strike would have lost its power in the first 2 days, because NUMSA represents 30% of employees in this industry, 30%. Why did the whole industry strike? They strike because of intimidation and violence. And what the union has actually illustrated to us through the violence is their weakness. Because if you can't convince people to go out and strike, if you can't get the support of the whole workforce, if 70% of the workforce has remained on the work floor, this strike could have lasted for months, because employer to some extent would have continued, but that's the rules of the game. But what we've seen here is a violent strike where especially NUMSA has gone into the workplaces and forced employees out of the workplace. That caused employers to shut their doors. Now that is violent, that has had a huge impact on business, and we will pay for years to come for what's happened.
Mr. Papenfus, I will get Mr. Jim's response to that. I'm sure he's itching to respond, but I need to take a quick commercial break. Our discussion continues after this break.